wasn't going to talk about the Miracle on Ice because it is the one thing that most people remember about the Winter Olympics of 1980, especially if you're American. And it's the one thing that we here in Lake Placid are constantly advertising because as a small village, you need something to attract everybody. But certain events have happened, so I guess I have to do it now. It's the Cold War, and instead of Canada versus the US, it's the USSR versus the US, a 44-year conflict. From 1924 to 1992, the Winter and Summer Olympics had always been on the same year. In 1994, the IOC decided to make the 2-year rule to address costs and logistics. It's 1979 December. While Lake Placid is just about ready to host the Winter Olympics, the USSR decides to invade Afghanistan. On January 20th of 1980, the then president, Jimmy Carter, on his State of the Union address, stated that he would be making a bunch of restrictions against the USSR when it came to economics, agriculture, and technology. He also stated that the American people and himself would not support sending athletes to Moscow for the Summer Olympics. He then pushed for other countries to do the same, and also that the IOC should move the Olympics somewhere else. In Carter's eyes, Moscow had until February 20th to pull out, or they would boycott. He also proposed that the Olympics be moved to Greece. Boycotts and pressure on the IOC to move the Olympics to other places isn't new. New Zealand's participation in a rugby match against apartheid South Africa resulted in 26 countries boycotting the 1976 Melbourne Olympics. The 1956 Melbourne Olympics saw boycotts because of USSR's invasion into Hungary. Even though the IOC will say that the Olympics aren't political, that doesn't stop countries from using the Olympics as an athletic soft power. Now, it is ultimately the USOC's decision on whether or not athletes go to the Olympics, but because there was wide support for not sending athletes to Moscow from both the House and Senate and the general public, the USOC respected the wishes of the US government. Now, a number of countries that were siding with us in boycotting the Summer Olympics by not sending a formal team out did let their individual athletes go and attend the Moscow Olympics. Here in the States, we said that if you step foot in Moscow, we would strip you of your passport. A group of 25 athletes protested that decision but lost. A month after that announcement, it was time for the 1980 Winter Olympics in Lake Placid. USA was not great at hockey back in the day. The last gold we ever got was back in 1960 in Squaw Valley, California. The Soviet hockey team had become quite the dominant force, winning the 1964, 1968, 1972, and 1976 Winter Olympics. Herb Brooks, as we know, created a collegiate hockey team for the Winter Olympics. They were doing pretty well on their 60-match exhibition run until they got smoked by the Soviet hockey team 10-3 in front of 11,000 people. We were placed 7th in a 12-team pool at the start of the Olympics, already setting the stage as the underdog team after what everyone witnessed on February 9th. We would get out of the pool setting and into the medal rounds with a 4-win, 1-tie record. We were set up against the Soviet Union. We, of course, beat them 4-3, and if you had a TV, you heard Al Michael yell, "Do you believe in miracles?" "Yes!" And Kyle Dryden, his Canadian counterpart, replying, "Unbelievable." Booker would, of course, get a call from the president saying his congratulations and telling him that he and the team should visit the president at the White House. Booker reminded the president that they still had a gold medal match against Finland later on, and that, yes, they would come, but they would need bus rides. The president told him that he could send planes. We would then go on to beat Finland 4-2, quenching a 20-year gold medal drought. Directly after the Winter Olympics, Jimmy Carter stayed true to his word and flew the American athletes to the White House. Herb Brooks gifted the president this photo. Now on to the Moscow Summer Olympics. 89 countries participated in the Olympics. 16 of those countries flew under the Olympic flag at different levels. There were 66 countries that boycotted the Olympics. Many of the countries that did boycott the Moscow Olympics did partake in the Liberty Bell Classic, or the Boycott Olympic Games, in Philadelphia. The boycott affected so many competitive sports and skewed the medal count in Soviet Union and East Germany's favor, even though 36 countries did win medals. Even though the US government was never able to give back the dreams that so many athletes lost because of the boycott, a year later a federal court in Manhattan agreed to refund 9,000 US citizens who canceled their trip to Moscow with the help of the Soviet Travel Agency. The Soviet Union would go on to boycott the 1984 LA Olympics in retaliation for us boycotting the Moscow 1980 Olympics. In closing, it's just so interesting how history can rhyme even when it's not meant to.